Huh? That's right. Tell my husband the same thing. It's up to you. Okay, I'll let you know. But I did like last week though, or last time. Yeah, 'cause yeah, why not?
I'll just sit
Yeah.
here and look pretty while you do
Sounds
this.
great.
How's that?
Sounds great. But you need a microphone, I bet.
I bet I do. I'll
Okay.
get one.
Okay. All right. How are you guys? Happy Monday morning. That's right. So this morning, I am going to base our topic off of Exodus 14. Are you guys familiar with the Exodus chapter? Yeah? Some? Yes? Okay, well, I just recently became familiar with it myself over the last couple weeks, just reading through and God revealing certain things that kind of jumped out to me that I feel like will help speak to you guys. Um, and this is where I might need a little bit of help. So I'm so grateful that you're here. Because, yeah. So just a little background or a little bit of history about the Exodus is that it talks about how the Israelites were facing famine in their homeland of Canaan, and they had to leave Canaan to go into the land of Egypt, which is a very unfamiliar place, a place that, I feel like whenever we go from a place that we call home, that we've been in a long time, and we end up having to leave that place for whatever reason, we have these different emotions that we face. We have different expectations that we're holding to, different hopes, different, you know what I mean? So you go in, and I'm just trying to put myself in the place of these Israelites that, it's sad that you have to depart from this one place, but where you're going to, you can build up these certain expectations that whenever you get there, life's going to be better. And whenever they get to Egypt, they are accepted and they are welcomed with open arms into Egypt under the rule of Pharaoh. And eventually, that Pharaoh who knew Jacob, correct? Who knew Jacob. Yeah? Okay. He passes away, and then the new Pharaoh that comes along, who doesn't know Jacob, who doesn't have any respect for Jacob, he starts to feel intimidated by the growth of the Israelites. And so by this time, this is like 30 years after they get into Egypt, right? I don't know. Okay, well, I think it's about 30 years. So they've come in and they've become accustomed to the ways of the Egyptians, the ways that they live, the ways that the foods that they eat, all these different things they've contorted to after being there for so long. Well, then this new ruler, Pharaoh, that, like I said, doesn't hold the same respect for them as the one before him, he's intimidated by them. And so rather than them allowing to continue their life as the way that they now know it, they are thrown into slavery. They're made to work for these people who once welcomed them. And I feel like that is such a betrayal. They get there, they're welcomed, and then all of a sudden, one day, they're not welcome anymore in the same way. And that hurts. And it's confusing. And so that's kind of where I want to really start today, and because the mindset and the emotions and all of that that comes with the betrayal of literally just betrayal. And so, but trying to put this into perspective, like trying to make sense of it from what does this have to do with us right now? And that's kind of the same thing. Like we went from a place that we were comfortable, that we called home, that was where we grew up, and we get to a certain point where we have to move out. We have to discover life on our own, and depending on where or how we grew up in that home is dependent also on the rest of wherever you decide to go and how you're going to do that. So we build up these expectations that, we look at our parents and how they did it, and we decide, well, I'm not going to do it that way. I can do it different. Or we fall under the same pattern because that's what we know. And so that eventually, after a certain amount of time of living life that way, you kind of find yourself stuck, and you don't know any other way to do it. You keep trying, and you keep trying, and you keep trying, and you keep trying, and yet you keep coming back to that same place, and that puts us into that little cage that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And in that cage, something that God recently revealed to me is that, yes, I was in that cage. We all were in that cage. But something about that cage, we're so fearful of it. But at the same time, we miss that there's also a protection. We might be, yes, yeah, yes. But also, not just familiarity and comfort, but there's also the one thing that we miss is that cage also was like a protection from the outside, and because God help me break this down, but it was a safe space for me, I know, to be able to face those harder truths for myself, and I believe that. That maybe God didn't intend for all of that to happen to put me in there, but what happened in there, he was still able to have access while in the midst of that darkness and in the midst of being so stuck and feeling so defeated. There was little whispers along the way that God was able to get through to me. It was just the smallest whispers, that spoke so loudly that gave me just a little bit of life, a little bit of hope in that moment of despair. And, I feel like with the Israelites, they hadn't heard from God in 400 years. That's a long time. But yet, before that, like they are children of God. They are children of God. And over time, that's something in the same way that we do. Like, we are children of God, but along the way, we kind of forget because of different circumstances, different situations that we're put into or that we create for ourselves. We tend to forget where we come from, who we come from. And something interesting that I heard, and you can correct me if this is wrong, but the Israelites were purposed. They were purposed to go through, like God already knew what was going to happen when they got to Egypt. He already knew that they were going to have to go through all of those things in Egypt. He knew it was going to happen, but God knew a greater purpose that was going to be the outcome after they went through all of what they went through. And so that enslavement that they were into, it caused such an oppression on them, such an oppression, and they walked through it for a long time. And the longer that you're under that oppression, you start to become hopeless to the thing that you were crying out to, that you're hoping for, that will rescue you. But sometimes God will allow you to walk through that until you really lift your voice and start crying out to him for help. And because we expect him to come through, but are we really reaching out to him? Are we really crying out to him, or are we reaching out to different people instead of to God himself? Are we reaching for a bottle? Are we reaching for a pill? What are we reaching to instead of to him? They cried out to God and said, God, save us. And God answered. He heard them and he answered them, and he sent Moses in to hand deliver them out. And whenever they come out, they're now standing in the midst of a wilderness. Do you guys know what a wilderness really is? It's the in-between of what was and the in-between of where you're going. And this is a place where I believe that you guys are right now. Whether you feel it or you believe it or not, you know, I don't know personally addiction to drugs or alcohol myself, but sex addiction, I know what that's like. I know what being, you know, there's psychologists and science says that someone who's abused, they go through, it's like a love-hate relationship with the abuser. And that is something that is so hard to break away from. It's very confusing. It's very conflicting on the inside. You don't know which way you're supposed to go with what day. And so that, I believe, is kind of the same thing, you know. The Israelites, they get out, they're delivered, they're free from where they were, but they keep looking back behind them, waiting for Pharaoh to creep up on them, waiting for him to capture them back and bring them back to captivity. And if you're not careful, that little thought of going back to where you came from, because for a moment you think it would be better than where you are right now, will take you back and enslave you right back to where God just delivered you from. So you are in the midst of making, in the process right here, this is your decision moment. This is the time that you have to decide, what are you going to do with right now, even though you don't know how you're going to do it. How are you going to get forward? How are you going to do it? You don't know? Well, people that God sent here who have already been where you are in our own way, we're here to help lead you. But just like the Israelites, if you don't trust who God has sent you, you're going to go back. You're going to be lost. Like they wandered the wilderness for 40 years. You might not go back, but you're going to be so lost in right now that you don't know where back is, back between, you don't know backwards from forwards. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, you get stuck. And then, yes. Mm-hmm. That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah.
Nothing more miserable.
More miserable. Nothing more miserable than a backsliding Christian. No joke. Yep, you're right, yeah, very much so. But this is just that time that you have a chance. You have a chance to completely break free from the fear of ever going back. Yeah, those thoughts creep up. Yes, those feelings. You miss that familiarity. You miss what was comfortable. You miss, and in this place right now, you're having to fight between facing your reality, facing those hard truths of what was, where you came from, what happened there, what you did there, what they did to you there. And it's really uncomfortable to have to admit to a lot of those things, to say, yes, that did happen. Yes, I hate that happened. Yes, I'm angry that happened. Yes, but you have to admit all of these certain things and emotions and effects that it had on you. And that can sometimes be a lot harder than just going back and drowning it all back out and clouding your mind and not having to face those truths about yourself. But where is that going to get you? Where does it get you? It is so hard, yeah. It is so hard to face those truths and to be honest with ourselves, and especially being honest to other people about where we come from. We will hide behind the shame and regrets and all of those things to not have to be real because we're so afraid. But that's why, one thing I love about Moses in the story is that God takes Moses into the wilderness before he ever called him to lead anybody else. And God did certain things for Moses to help build him up and give him the courage and the trust that God was going to fulfill everything that he said through Moses. Whenever we read, I don't know which chapter or verse it's in, but God took him out into the wilderness, and Moses asked him, like, how are they going to believe me? How are they going to know? And then God instructs him to do these certain things, and one of them was that he instructs Moses to stick his hand inside his cloak. And whenever he pulls it out, he now has leprosy? That's not right. Is it leprosy? Okay. Leprosy? Okay, yes. And then he puts it back in, and it's gone. So God shows himself to Moses and pretty much proves himself to Moses before he ever has to go and show the people to help them to trust God and trust Moses to bring them out of where they are and to get them safely from here to the promised land. And that's, I think that's part of probably the hardest thing to do is to come into this foreign land because this is so foreign to you. You guys, I know for myself, I didn't know the right language coming in here. I didn't know the right religious ways that I was supposed to believe. And now God is having to rework all of those beliefs that I grew up with that were wrong. I'm having to reverse all of those things. And thank God, because I'm in such a better place, being able to knock down those walls so that he can build it back up to the truths of what he really is and who I really am. Because that's what happened to the Israelites. They lost who they were under the rule of the Egyptians. Whenever you're enslaved to different things and different people and different situations, you forget. You forget who you are. And that's what God purposed the wilderness for, a reconciliation to him. That's the purpose of why you are here. You are here to get to reconcile with God so that you can reconcile with yourself. That's the whole purpose of why I believe you guys are here. It's not just to get clean. It's not just to get your families back together. Like it is bigger than that. And you guys, that reconciliation with God, like nothing is going to bring you out of that and except God. Just God. That's it. I tried everything else. We've tried everything else. So while you're here, try God out. Push yourselves past the point of being comfortable. Allow yourselves to be uncomfortable and trust the process. That hurt, that forgiveness that you're going to have to go through, because it has to happen. You have to forgive in order to be able to move forward from where you came from. Forgive yourself. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. But if you can forgive yourself, the rest is possible. Do you have a couple things to say?
Yeah. I tell you, I find it fascinating that you brought up to them that this is a wilderness time for them. You know, in the Bible, a wilderness time has always been very significant. You know, God took Jesus out in the wilderness. He took Moses out in the wilderness. He took the Israelites out in the wilderness. I've learned that through my walk with God that I've often been taken out in the wilderness, and it's been a puzzling time for me, especially the first couple of times it happened, because it's like I'm not hearing God. It's like there's a disconnect for some reason. But I can say, and I've taught this to many people, every time I've come out of the wilderness, I've come out on a whole new level.
That's right.
In my relationship. It's always a teaching time. Sometimes I like to say that God kind of likes to play hide and seek, because he wants you to seek him. The lessons, to me, I love the Exodus because to me, it's all a beautiful picture of God's plan for each of us. And one of the most important things, I think, about what he was trying to teach them was, you have to depend on me every day. You cannot gather tomorrow's manna because it will be full of maggots. You have to seek me every day. And every day, I will give you what you need. I will give you your daily bread. I will see you through. I will do this. The Exodus is a beautiful thing. And he spent all that time because God's whole purpose for mankind is, I will be your God and you will be my people. You know, he doesn't, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a beautiful picture of what he wanted to teach them is, you can depend on me. I will meet your needs. I will fulfill your promises. And to me, it's just a beautiful picture. And I'll tell you a fascinating thing that I love about the Exodus is, we tend to think of the Exodus as an event and all this. But if you go back and look at what God accomplished and how he accomplished all this over the hundreds of years, you understand that, Jacob, remember, with his brothers, they got jealous, sold him into slavery, and then and then see, what he did is, through that event, and I won't go through all of it, you guys know it, or I hope you know it, anyway, he found favor because he was close to God, because he seeked God all the time. He did everything according to God's way. Kingdom. He followed kingdom principles his whole time, and because of that, he showed favor even in prison, even with his captives, anyway. So, of course, God sent him to Egypt, which at that time was a huge nation, but it wasn't incredibly rich and wealthy. It became that way because of Jacob's dreams, because he had them. He said, there will be famine. There will be 7 years of plenty and there will be 7 years of famine. And now store up, store up, store up. So when all the rest of the world had famine, Egypt had plenty. And people came and bought from him. So he built Egypt up. God built Egypt up into the wealthiest nation on earth. Then his people fell. Then Moses they cry out, they become slaves, which were all slaves. Understand that Egypt, in the Bible, Egypt is like the world. It's a worldly mindset. That's what Egypt represents in the Bible, is the worldly mindset, the way the world does things. And he built them up into the wealthiest nation there was. Then when his people, after 400 years of slavery, got delivered from there, they spent 40 years in the wilderness with God trying to teach an obstinate people. I'm glad we're not like that, huh? Yeah, I'm glad we don't ever get obstinate like that anyway, because we all think, I would. I'll tell you what, I know every rock and bush around that mountain. I've been around it so many times, so many times. Still go around it sometimes about different things because I'm still obstinate and hard-headed, and God's still trying to break pride off of me. But he built all that up and then delivered them out of Egypt, basically to the downfall of Egypt. Mm-hmm. Then he takes them to the promised land, and they go in, take the promised land, and what's the first thing they did? When the walls of Jericho fell, they went to, remember Rahab the prostitute who harbored the people, and she said, everybody knows your God is God because of how he supernaturally delivered everybody out of. You understand, God showed the entire world that he was the one true God, through the deliverance of his people out of Egypt. And that's what he does with us. He delivers us from a worldly mindset that leads to slavery. Slavery to sin, slavery to alcohol, drugs, slavery to sex, work, whatever we use to fill that God-sized hole that everybody has in them, because that's what it is. We have a need for relationship. And if we don't have that relationship, we try and fill it in any way that we can.
Yeah.
But God's there every day, delivering his manna to us every day, our daily bread. And that's what he wants to teach. This is your wilderness time. This is your teaching time. And you get out of here, and there's going to be many, many, many times that you're going to be tempted to go back to Egypt.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there's nothing but slavery there. And you can fall, and you can go around the mountain. We've had a lot of people do it over and over. Amanda, many, many times, and look at her now.
Yeah.
I love Amanda. She's one of my kids. You guys are all my kids. I don't know if you know that or not. You're all my kids. And I love that. I love that. I love the Billies and your sister, where'd she go? I don't see her now. Oh, I just love the success stories here. And anyway, I just thought that was an interesting, how God set that up through hundreds of years. And then through the Exodus, he showed the entire world, I am God. Yeah. In the same time, teaching his people, you are my people. You are my people.
Yeah. And I just want to add on to that. It blows my mind that something that happened so long ago is something that God still does in us today. It's incredible, really. I know, just spiritually, how can God that delivered these people still be the God that delivers us today, And it's awesome. God is just really awesome. So there was a few things that I kind of skipped over, but let me just pull up my notes because I know what I wanted to say. I did. So now that we kind of have the history of Egypt, oh my goodness. Yeah. Now that we've covered the history of the Exodus, I kind of want to take it deeper and put a spin on it for it to more connect to where we are now. I know we kind of already did that, but I kind of want to take it a little bit deeper. So I told you guys, this right now, you guys have been delivered. You are here in a safe space. It's a space that God handpicked for each one of you. He handpicked you and brought you here to a place that he knew you guys could be reached. But how open will you allow yourself to become in order to receive that deliverance and to be able to because what it requires, we don't yet know, right? It's an everyday learning process, and we don't know how we're going to get there. We don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. We don't know who is going to come our way. What kind of things are we going to have to endure in order to get to that next step in the process? And it can sometimes be scary. It can be scary not knowing what's going to happen, what's really going to happen. And we can look back. So one vision I had whenever I first started my self-healing journey was one that God spoke so loud, and it was to the fear that I felt of my past. And I didn't see it until now, and that happened back in 2020 when I had that vision. God is still revealing different meanings to it. And what it's meant along the way changes as I progress through my journey. It's so amazing how God is doing that. I'm blown away by. I can't wait for those of you who are ready to experience it, I can't wait for you to get there. It's going to be amazing. I promise that. I know I can promise that. But one of the visions that I had was I saw myself a little girl, and I was clothed in a robe that was much bigger than me. And I had my arms stretched out in front of me, and I was running. And whenever I saw my face looking behind me, tears running down my face, and you can just see the fear. You could just see the fear. And whenever I take a look at what I'm running away from, it's this big black ball of just scribbles, almost like a big ball of messed up yarn. And whenever I see myself and I look to what I'm running to, I see Jesus with open arms waiting for me. But the thing that I'm learning now is that sometimes, just like the Israelites, we are so afraid of what we come from and we keep waiting and waiting for that thing to catch up to us, thinking that that thing, because it once was so powerful in our lives, it controlled us. And so we got into this place where we were able to escape it, but now there's that fear that it's going to catch up. And what's going to happen if it catches up to us? It's going to take us back. And who wants to go back to that place of misery, to that place of loneliness, to that place of just of despair, a place that you hated to be one time, a place that was so tormenting, and now you're running and you're running and you're running, but you're running afraid. And at that time, I knew that all I needed to do, no matter how afraid I was just keep running forward. Just keep running forward and keep trying to figure out how I'm going to get to what's in front of me. But there comes a time in your life that you're going to have to stop running afraid. You're going to have to stop running afraid. This is your time where you can stop running and being afraid, and you can stand in where God has placed you and be able to have that encounter with all of those things that you're running from. To have that reality check. To be real with yourself. Yes, that happened. Yes, that hurt. Yes, it still hurts. But you have to stop being so afraid of what you're running from and start having the courage to run to. Trust God in where He has you. And trust Him and the people who He's placed in your lives right now to get you to where you can be reconciled with Him. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. And once you get there, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. And then once you get there, there's something else that happens that will keep you moving forward. Once you leave here, it's going to keep you moving forward because you will now have that relationship with God. You will be able to know how to communicate with Him. You'll be able to know what His voice sounds like over all the other voices you've ever heard in your entire life. You'll be able to have those tools to fight against those withdrawals and those feelings of, man, if I just want to escape for a minute. No, you'll know how to combat that. You'll know how to win over those things. But you're only going to get it if you start those steps now. And you don't leave. Don't leave. Yes, it's a lonely place. Yes, you miss your families. Yes, you miss your kids. Yes, you want all of these different things to happen right now, but you can't have it right now. You've got to go through this process, and God will restore those things back to you. That's right. A couple months, a couple years compared to the rest of your life. But the exciting part is that once you get there, like, you guys are already free. You guys are already free. Yes, you still have bondage to certain things. Yes, you still have those feelings and those desires, but God can completely break those and restore you and pull you into a completely new something. And you will come to a place where those things that used to be desirable won't be desirable anymore, because you'll have something so much more that is more desirable. You will desire to make God happy. and that desire to be full because you know what that feels like. And when you do backslide, you'll really miss that fulfillment. You'll really miss that connection. You'll really miss it. But while you're here, you guys learn and get to develop and internalize those tools that are going to get you back to have that connection back. Because you will go through sometimes that you're not going to feel so disconnected or so connected. But these tools are going to help you to make sure that you can always become reconnected with him. So I really encourage you guys to allow not just me and Mr. Mark, but anyone else that comes in here, Pastor Steve and Ruth and Billy and Amanda, and even each other. There has to be a start of just a little bit of trust. Just a little bit of trust. You can have a whole lot of doubt in somebody, but just that little bit of trust will open you up to be able to grow that trust. And along the way, your faith grows with it. That trust is what opens you up to the building of faith. And, so do you have more?
Yeah, I do. God promised the Israelites a promised land. Yeah. And I'd like to tell you what my version of the promised land is. God promised them a land of milk and honey, of plenty of, everything was wonderful there, and, they would, and all that. To me, what my promised land is peace. It's shalom.
Mine too.
It's an understanding that that this world cannot throw anything at me that's bigger than my God, that can affect my relationship with my God. You guys, I don't know if you guys have access to news, but you probably know Israel and Iran are at war. Yeah. Well, over the weekend, we bombed Iran. Yeah. We went in and bombed Iran. I can tell you that there's a lot of fearful people in the world right now. And I can tell you that there's a lot of Christians who are fearful as well. I know people that have been hoarding, and they call themselves preppers, and they're prepped for Armageddon and all this. My God will serve my needs one day at a time. I don't have the slightest fear of anything this world can do to itself, because I know who's in charge, and I know who he loves. And nobody and nothing can do anything to me that he doesn't allow. And sometimes he allows us to go through things so that we can learn the lessons that we have to learn. And so when I get attacked, I no longer go, oh, woe is me, what's wrong? I go, okay, Lord, what is it you want me to learn from this? What part of my character are you working on? Pride has been just a hard one, and God can humble me in 100 different ways. He continues to humble me because I need it. I just need it. And I know that, and I'm working on it, but God, us Webbers are a hard-headed bunch. I've been through a heck of a year. You said to bring that up. I will. I've been through a heck of a year. Some of you know, a lot of you don't, that, a year ago in May, my shop building burned down. And all of my lifetime supply, buildup of tools, and my truck and my tractor and my, all this stuff burned up. I'm talking, it burned down to, my truck was basically melted. Even the wheels were melted off. It was gone. Anyway, in the process, my septic tank, I have had a year. And I've never once lost my peace. I just haven't. It's just been, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And I got to tell you a funny story. Javier, Michaela's wonderful husband, has been helping me. He helped me. We built a new shop. In the process, okay, when it burned down, an electrician had to come in and run new wiring and all that, because it wasn't just running my shop, it was running a second building and all that. And it was also running a gas well that we have to pump off because we get free natural gas. And if you don't pump it off, then you don't get gas. Anyway, it's a long story, but he ran wires. Well, this electrician did a really poor job. And he buried the wires. When he ran into rock, he went up above the rock and buried the wires about this deep, which is something you don't do. And so when the Amish came in to build it, the first thing they did was stuck a shovel in the ground and hit my wire, and I didn't lose power, but they told me, your electric got hit. You know, the Amish were very, very honest. They said, we hit the wire down there and we saw a puff of smoke. They let me know. They could have shoveled it back over and not said anything, but they told me. We saw a puff of smoke, which tells me, so I called that electrician back and told him, you know, hey, there's this wire. I still got all my electric. It's all working. But they said they hit this wire. Okay. And he was going to come out and fix it to where it wouldn't be bad. Anyway, long story short, here a month or so ago, I lost half of my electricity to everything those wires were ran to. And Javier helped me. I say helped me. I helped him completely wire my shop. The Amish don't do the electric. So he came in, he put up the lights, he ran all my electric outlets, all this. He did a fantastic job. And I helped, but he did the work. I helped. I did help him. But anyway, so when I had this problem, when half the electricity went out, of course, I know who to call. And I called Javier, and he came out, and he goes, well, looks to me like what you've done is lost a phase. In other words, that wire the guy hit finally went out. So temporarily, we had to dig it all up and figure out everything, but we didn't do that yet. Temporarily, what he did was move electric around to where I still had all my electric. We just weren't using that one phase anymore, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, so he helped me. We bought disconnects. We bought a deal to fix that wire right, because the electrician, all he said he came out and did was wrap tape around it, and which is never going to work. And of course, we had all that rain this year, so it went down, corroded that wire, and it corroded in half is what happened basically. So yesterday, after church, he had all the stuff. It finally dried out enough for us to do this work. And we're digging, and we're trying to be careful digging so we don't hit the wire again. You understand. Of course, we got it shut off, but we're trying not to cause more damage, because it really is hard to get a wire to splice a wire underground and keep it from not going bad. But Javier knew how to do it. He bought the stuff for it and all that. But we're being really careful, and we're digging around, and we don't know exactly where to dig. And we're digging and digging, and we finally find the wire, and then we're trying to slowly work around it, trying to find the spot that was bad. And we're going at it and going at it and going at it. And I finally said, Lord, help us, would you please? Instantly, Javier said, well, here's something that doesn't look right. And I go, God, you have such a wonderful sense of humor. I can just see him up there going, yeah, I'll just let them muddle around for a while. You know, they're boys. They like to play in the dirt. I'll just let them muddle around for a while till they finally ask for help. And I asked for help, and instantly, Javier said, well, this doesn't look right. And we find it and fix it and all that. But the point I'm trying to make is our promised land is not stuff. It's Him. And it's this relationship that we have. And your time here is to understand that religion isn't involved in any of this. This is a relationship thing. And what we want to show you is that it's real. and that she's found it, I've found it, pastors found it, that Amanda who just walked out of the room has found it. We've found something that nobody can take away from us. And all we can do is be examples and tell you this, and then it's up to you to make that connection yourself. And I say it all the time that when you switch from trying to learn about God to seeking God, then he will reveal himself to you. And when he does, nobody can ever take that away from you again. That's what gets you through the Egypt thoughts, is knowing that I have this. This is real. This is real. But it's going to be up to each one of you. All we can do is give an example. But it's each one of you has to make that connection. It's important to make that connection. And I say it all the time. Enjoy the process. Don't be fearful. God's got you now. You understand? He'll get you there. How many times you go around the mountain, how many times you backslide, how many times you do this, that all is up to you. But if God needs to, he'll send a whale after you. You understand? He's got you. He loves you too much to let go of you. So the best thing you can do is just figure out, one day at a time, like she said, keep going in the right direction. Keep going in the right direction. Line upon line, precept upon precept, one choice at a time. And it's the little choices that matter. One day at a time. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be at peace. Just to have peace. I mean, it affected every part of my life. My marriage is beautiful. My relationship with my kids and my stepkids and my grandkids, who aren't even mine, but they are mine. I mean, you ask them. Even the adult ones are texting me all the time now. I mean, I have a wonderful, beautiful relationship with friends and you guys. And I mean, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. And it's so, that's my promised land. That's your promised land. Shalom. Peace.
Something recently that I'm very thankful for. My family, we've gone through a lot of different things that have caused division. And I come from a big family. I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters. And we really don't have like a relationship like we should as brothers and sisters. And over the years, pretty much I just went my own way and decided to build my own life. And if they call me great. Every once in a while a birthday comes along, I'll text you, that type of thing. It was just it wasn't a relationship. And over the last 2 years, like, God has slowly been restoring some of those relationships. Not every single one is meant to be restored, but the ones that I thought were completely lost, God is giving back. And it's going to make me cry, but I'm not going to. My sister, my stepsister, I don't consider them my step family. They're my sister. And recently, over the last few months, God has helped us to reconnect. And on Saturday, I missed the ladies' lunch thing here. I just completely forgot about it. But she messaged me and asked me if I wanted to take the kids to the pool. So, of course, I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. We go, we have a really great time, and then I invite them back to the house to have some pizza, and we're sitting there and just kind of reminiscing on some different things. And I felt in my spirit that I needed to do something that I did before, but maybe a little different than I've done before, and that was just to apologize to her. Just to apologize to her again for because she went through something very similar to what I went through, but whenever she went through it, I kind of abandoned her. I did, to be honest. Somebody who really needed me, I chose to not be there for her. And I know how much that hurt her. I know how much it did because her and we were so close. We were so close. And I look back at it now and I'm like, man, like I did the thing that people did to me. I did to her. Somebody who I know trusted me and who I led to believe to trust me, you know, with that relationship and that I would always be there, and I bailed because I was scared. Because I was scared of just multiple things. But the fact that she even gave me a chance to reconnect is a move of God, because she told me that it would never go back. We would never go back to where we were. But this Saturday, me telling her that I was sorry led into a spiritual conversation between me and her that it gave us a connection between what she's going through now and what I've already been through, and letting her know, like giving her the testimony of where God has moved and how he's moved in my life, gave her hope that she's going to be able to find that too, that freedom, that deliverance from the hurt. And she's already started her journey of self-healing, you know, but she's in that phase of that desire for that deeper connection with God, to really connect. And so I told her about the Hidden Roots. I told her about the ministry here. I told her about the different people and the atmosphere and how open we are to being okay being broken. And she was like, that's what I want. She's like, I want to be in a place where people aren't so afraid to talk about their struggles and to be real, because I need that. I need to know that there's other people that struggle like me. So this next Sunday, she'll be here, and I didn't know that I was going to be preaching, so the pressure is on a little bit, I feel like. But because I was really banking on Pastor to give a really great word that was going to really move her and stuff, and then lo and behold, that's right, in the name of Jesus. But it's amazing. It's incredible, you know, that God is restoring back to what I really believed and did lose for a while. And I am so excited. It moves me to tears because I'm so grateful for that. I really love this girl. I love my sisters. I love all of my family. But that connection that I had with them was so different than what I've had with anyone else in my family. And I know that it was different for them too. And, but yeah, so it is possible. It is possible. And I can say it because I'm experiencing it right now. And my deepest prayer is that you guys really take what you got from today. If you're able to, I don't know what you guys' schedule is after this, but go and just journal about what we talked about today. Journal about how it spoke to you. If it moved you, talk about that to yourself. Journal it, and that's how you internalize what you hear. That's what helps me. What I hear, I write it down, and I go back and I read it. When I don't know what I'm going to talk about, I go back and I read my journal entries, and I talk about it, and I'm like, okay, and then I just know that's what I need to talk about. And just sometimes journaling, that's how God talks to you. That's how he talks to you. That sometimes is where you can find that connection between where you're at and where God is wanting to talk to you through that thing. So if you have time, if you don't have time, try to make time and write it down. Journal your experiences as you're going through these different classes, and what moves you, journal it, because you want to come back and remember that moment when you're struggling to find it. Those are the places that you can go back to and remember, that's what I want to feel, and this is how I'm going to get it. So, do you have anything to add?
Just to ask, does anybody have comments, questions? We love interaction here, you guys know that. No. You're on Facebook. We wouldn't if we weren't on Facebook.
I just envy your I don't know how to say it, but you're probably a great dad, and I envy how in touch with yourself you are. And you say you had to fight with pride. Well, I tell you, you've got a lot to be proud of. So, congratulations.
Problem is, you're seeing me now, not
Where you were?
not not BC. You're not seeing me BC, and BC for me means before Connie, my wife, because I learned more about love through Connie and Pastor than I have. God, Connie, and Pastor is who's taught me about love, and I wasn't always the best father. I got divorced. My wife divorced me when my kids were very young, and they lived in Colorado. I lived here, and I got to have them every summer. I mean, I had them and they lived with me off and on. They always knew they had a home there and they had a home here, and so they lived back and forth and all that. But I wasn't always the best father. I wasn't. You're seeing God chipping at a rock after 30 years. You got to understand. So what? I thank you for your comments, but I haven't always been the best dad. Lord, I used to smoke dope, not around my kids, but definitely while I had them, and all that. But anyway, thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
You guys are saying like visions. Do they come like in dreams too? Okay. I wasn't gonna share, but I can't figure it out because last night I was sitting in this car, right, and I'm going down this dirt road. Yeah, I had last night, and it was like, it was a dream. But I was sitting in this car, and it was a dirt road. But it was like when I looked up, I realized I was in a car. We're going down, like going towards the river. I could literally feel the mud puddles, the tires in the mud puddles, right? I could feel them. And then I look over to see who was driving the car, and nobody was there. I mean, completely nobody. So I'm freaking out. I'm like reaching over and grab the wheel. But then I realized I could do this all I want, but it ain't going to stop the car at all. So I literally felt myself get out and sit in the driver's seat. And then when it clicked what was going on, I woke up, but I was gripping my pillow like it was the steering wheel. And I just can't figure it out because I'm looking forward. There's nothing there but trees on each side and the tire tracks and potholes. I don't know.
Whether it's right or not, I don't know. But what I think is that you're in control of you. And for a long time, you have allowed other things to control you. Yeah.
When I looked up, there was no rearview mirror there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking the other goal.
Yeah.
Don't look at the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason,
Mhm.
and it's not to look back.
That's right. Yeah. You're in control of where you are right now. And it's yeah.
It was all weird. It was like I was dreaming, but I wasn't dreaming, and it freaked me out to the point where I was like 12:30 when I woke up. I went out in the shower,
Yeah.
and I had to reset myself, I guess you could say, because to me, it's like, okay, am I going forward or am I still trying
I
to
think you
control it?
do you feel a little bit out of control and within yourself, like as far as where you're at right now?
No, I'm really glad you did Exodus. I really did, because like right now, my biggest fear is going
Back.
back to the reality.
Yeah. Mhm.
And not, I want to do it so bad for myself. I want to do it, be able to do it for myself. That way nobody can take it from me. I earned it, it's mine.
God's going to do it. It's not yours to do on your own. God's going to do it. Yeah.
Let go and let God,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. And it's hard. It's so hard to trust and to give that to God. But that's where it has to be.
I'll say this, that, you were talking about envying me and where I'm at right now. Understand that the very best thing you guys can do for your families at this point, your children, possibly grandchildren, wives, husbands, whatever, boyfriends, the best thing you can do for them is seek God with all your heart, and then He will guide your ways. That's just, but see, that's where you get it. That's where you get it. God is love, and the more you attach yourself to, you guys look at me, do you know that I almost never cried before I became a Christian? I came to church and just fell to pieces. God just wrecked me, and He wrecks me every time. And it's not just here. It's when I pray. It's when I listen to good worship music. It's when He's breaking down barriers, and it's just, yes, I love so much better than I ever did. And that's God. I mean, God is love, and that's the deeper you get with Him, as in a mirror, that you are changed from glory to glory in His image. Chris.
I just want to add that dream she had. God was speaking to me when she was saying that. And what it reminds me of a lot is footprints. When you're thinking you're alone and you don't understand where God is in your life, them potholes are the footprints that you're going through. And He's just reminding you, when you look and see He's driving, that tells me, remember, even when you don't see His footprints, that He's still with you. He's carrying you. He's driving you. Okay? Yeah. That's because He's carrying you, and you don't have it. He's got you.
Yep. Trust Him to take the wheel. Trust Him to allow yourself to be in the passenger seat while He's driving you to where you're going. I think that's a deeper, maybe a different way to look at it. You feel like you don't have control over what's happening and where you're going and where you are. And that's where that trust, you have to just have a little bit of trust. Have a little bit of trust in the process that you're going through right now. That's the fear. That's fear.
The faith of a mustard seed will move every mountain.
It will. Yep.
It's weird how God works in our lives and how we get to where we are. We often say we're right where we're supposed to be, and you guys say that a lot to us. And I often was always worried about what people thought about me, and my faith in God, and will I be judged by them? And now seeing you cry, I'm a crier. I cry all the time, through worship all the time, when I pray. And what a message you guys just delivered, man. That was so powerful. And it gives me the faith or the strength I needed to take that next step, because you're living proof, where you came from to now. You're living proof. If we just trust the process, God's got us. And all these relationships that I failed in my past, or I want back with my sisters, I will get if I just continue to walk in faith and do the Lord's work. That's all.
Yeah, you guys have to, if I could take you back to show you me 40 years ago, except to know that I did not have it together any better than the worst person in this room. I promise you. I did not have it together. I may have had different problems, but I did not have my act together. You say I'm good at love now. I'm sorry, but I was an asshole. I look back and I was bad. I was bad. God's changed my heart so much. And the reason I'm telling you this is to know that don't think that he can just do it for me. He will do it for every single one of you that yields, that has the faith, that has the trust to yield to what he's trying to do in you. You will be changed from glory to glory in his image. And his image is who he is. It's his nature. It's his character. And what's his character? What is God? He's love. And I tell you something, the enemy has no defense against love. Love casts out all fear. Love is the one thing the enemy cannot battle. Love conquers all. Love never fails.
I just want to say something real quick. The process for each one of you, like what it took for him to get there, what it's taken me to get there, is going to be different than what you're going to experience. And what you experience is going to be different than yours. Every single person is going to experience a different process on what it's going to require for you to get there.
So what I meant was, like my first week in church, you came up and you prayed with me and you cried, like really cried. All right. And I thought like, man, I must put off the wrong impression, you know, like I'm saved. God saved me. Whenever my ex-wife's name's Connie too, and I didn't know what love was until he introduced me to her and gave us a beautiful daughter. But you cried, right? And I'm like, dang, I didn't know I was so bad, you know? And then the next time I saw you, you were here and you were full of just, you're in touch with yourself enough to be able to share and impress that upon other people, you know? And I guess I'm kind of impressionable when it comes to good stuff. I've lived enough bad to where when I see that good come out of you, not just be in you, but come out of you, that's what I meant when I said I envy it. I want to be able to have that much to give. And I mean, I'm sure I do somewhere, but it's going to take some time probably. But so that's what I meant. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I used to hate it when I cried. I used to hate it. But I've watched God use it so many times that I don't hate it anymore. I mean, imagine this. I worked with a bunch of hard guys. I mean, rough, joking, rough, coarse, messing with each other, practical, the way guys are when they work together closely. And we worked 12-hour shifts. We lived together. We spent more time with each other than we did our wives. And they never saw me cry ever. But they knew I was a Christian after a while. I mean, I wasn't a Christian when I went to work out there. And they kind of, I don't know how to put that, they kind of shunned me a little bit because I was a Christian, because, you know, light exposes darkness, and the darkness likes to be dark. But then one of them would have a life disaster. What's a life? Yeah, something, a divorce or a death or something like that. Something where now all of a sudden their pride's broken down. Now all of a sudden they're open to something. And they'll slip to me alone, you know, on the side. You know, they don't want anybody else to know they're coming to talk to me. And these guys that I may have worked with for 10 or 20, 15, whatever, however long I'd worked with them at that time, then when they see me telling them about God and what helped me and crying the whole time, and they'd never seen me cry, it breaks down barriers. Because they may not believe what I believe, but they damn sure knew I believed it. They knew that I meant what I was, that this was something intensely important to me. So it's broken down a lot of barriers, so I don't sweat it anymore, you know? You guys just have to put up with me up here with my nose running the whole time.
All right. Does anyone else have anything? You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys for having us.
Tamara, you've got such a sweetheart, I can tell.
She does,
You just
yeah.
cry the whole time. God's doing a work in you.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. All right, you guys want to come up and pray together?